Welcome in, everyone. This is a Sports by the Book special. I'm Jeff Parles. Happy to be with you. Podcast-only listeners, thank you for being with us today because we have something we have not talked about much this summer, but arguably the best month of these even years always comes down. A World Cup year, not this year. That's 2 years from now. But we have Copa America, which comes up next month. But today, we talk Euro 2024 in Germany, and no one better than to have my good friend of Unabated, soccer expert, out of the orange, dresser-upper, our guy, Tom Viola with us right now. Tom, it's a pleasure as always. Thanks for being with us today.
Oh, it is great to be here. You know, this studio just feels so familiar. I feel like I've been here before, but I can't quite place it.
You know, it's coming back in here because, of course, you and I both work for the predecessor of this studio. Now, of course, I'm still here, very happy to be here in this newer iteration of South Point Studio. But no, it's been,
Yeah.
whole pandemic's happened since the last time you've been in here for the most part, right?
I know. It's quite trippy. Like, I've stopped by a few times. I'll tell you, I am excited. On my way out, I'm picking up, for old time's sake, I'm picking up a bacon, egg, and cheese from the Del Mar Deli over there.
Yes, Del Mar Deli, yes. As good of a breakfast sandwich as there is here in town. The BEC over there at the Del Mar Deli on the way out here at the South Point.
But
so, yeah, go ahead.
We are talking some soccer today.
Yo, I know you're
I'm very excited. Like you said, the even years, this is some of the most fun tournaments that we get. And we get an extra special one with the Copa America this year because it's going to be both North and South America. But yes, we're here today talking about very much the other side of the pond and going over to the Euros and all the excitement that's going to be taking place there. I think it's going to be a fun tournament. It's going to be much more top-heavy than what you might be expecting to see.
So let's go through this. We'll go group by group. We won't have many individual game picks for the first day of games. I might throw one in there, but I'm probably going to save those for the actual Sports by the Book show. Of course, every Tuesday through Saturday, 9 to 10 a.m. Pacific time, right here at South Point Studio. Tournaments let's just get the basics out here. Tournaments in Germany. Last time they did this tournament, remember, was the 2020 and then 2021 because of COVID, where they went around Europe. It was a whole scene. It was a pretty amazing tournament.
Yeah.
Where somehow Italy found a way to win the tournament despite missing back-to-back World Cups. They are the current European champions, beating England, who has had a nice run of finishing second in these Euros, Tom, as we talked about off the air beforehand.
It is very hilarious and very spot on for them. But you're right. Even wilder, the fact that Italy bookended missing 2 World Cups with a European championship.
And not only doing it, winning it at Wembley as well, beating England in their home national stadium. But the scene is set in Germany. And, you know, it's very weird to talk about a German team that is, yes, a strong betting favorite to win Group A. The remainder of Group A, it's the Germans, Switzerland, Hungary, and Scotland. Scotland will play Germany to kick off the tournament on Friday, Tom. About $3 favorites right now. Some books have them longer than $3, but the best number I've seen is about -300, -295 on the Germans to win Group A. This is, since winning that World Cup a decade ago, this has been a really poor decade, all things considered, internationally for let's face it, what was the most consistent program in the world, basically, from 2000 to 2014, and now here they are. Look, they back-to-back World Cups without an appearance outside of the group stage. 2016 in the Euros, the Germans, of course, in that tournament in France, that was on the back end of their World Cup championship. The Germans in that won Group C, but ended up losing in the semifinal to the host France. They didn't even make it out of the round of 16 in the 2020 version of this tournament. This is a very different circumstance for the Germans. They're on home soil. The expectation, at least for this German team, is, of course, you got to win the group as a $3 favorite. You got to get far in this tournament if you're the host nation coming off of a decade that has been, for this country, I don't want to say embarrassing, but this is a position that the Germans normally don't see themselves in, a decade without a major championship or at least a major final.
I mean, it is very much the changing of the guard. That team that won that World Cup all those years ago now is very old. And they still do have a ton of really solid attacking options now. They're still bringing back some great talent that's been stalwarts there that are names in Toni Kroos and Manuel Neuer. Quite frankly, Neuer did not impress me he was having a great game and then gave up a few howlers that cost Bayern in the Champions League and is the reason that they didn't make it onto that final and give us a Bayern versus Dortmund final. But, oh man, it's tough to back them to go far anymore. They just aren't the team that they used to be, and they've been very much searching for that identity and trying to figure everything out again. They're going to go decently far into this tournament, and they're especially blessed with the fact that they have a group that's not going to give them much trouble here in Group A. I think the bigger thing to look at is Scotland. Okay. If you want to have some fun, like Scotland has a chance to do that. To do that thing, they have a bit of a special team right now where they could potentially be like Iceland was a few Euros ago. I'm not saying that I'll expect to see them in the semifinals. Don't be surprised if they put up a fight. I don't think that they beat Germany. I don't think they draw Germany, but I think that they might not get played out of the park in the opener. And if they can do that, it bodes well for them managing to cut through in the second and third games and maybe potentially scrape their way into the knockout rounds.
It's fascinating because just going through this, I agree with you. I don't think any of these other three teams in this group can win the group. I think this is a German win of the group, and then we'll see what the draw is, because with a 24-team tournament and 16 advancing, it's a little more complex than we would like for handicapping long-term viability in this tournament. By the way, Germany about plus 450, 5-1 to win this tournament outright right now.
Yeah, my advice would be don't bet that.
I would not bet it as either. There are better numbers in that same pocket that I think are better to be bet than the Germans. It's interesting you brought up Scotland. I feel like for now, probably dating back all the way back to almost over a decade now in these international tournaments, I always feel like I need to back Switzerland in some capacity.
No. Don't back Switzerland this time.
Now, hear me out. Hear me out here, Tom. The only other team right now with the Swiss, they've been very consistent in these tournaments, at least getting out of the group stage. Them and France right now are the only two European nations to make it to the knockout stage of the last 5 major tournaments. That's 3 World Cups and 2 Euros mixed in there. So they are very consistent. This is a little bit of an older roster for the Swiss. Now, we're going to learn a lot about this team in that first matchup, because I also like the Hungarians as well. I think the Hungarians are a team that got out of the group 2 Euros ago. Mm-hmm. And then last one got stuck in the group of death and almost found their way out of it as well. So this is an interesting group, the battle for second. And remember, 4 of these 6 third-place teams will advance out into the knockout round. I think there are legitimate options for all these teams to get out behind Germany. I think the Swiss and the Hungarians will be the ones that advance out of this. Mm-hmm. I also like the Swiss in the first game against the Hungarians. I think the Hungarians match up well with Scotland. I think that's the main reason I like Hungary over Scotland. But look, if Scotland can find a way to get a point in the opener, then all bets are off here.
Yeah, it completely changes everything.
They're not gonna win the match, but if they can somehow salvage a 1-1 draw, even a 2-2 draw in a high scoring match, then we have to look at this group very differently when we go into the second match day.
I think if Germany scores 2 goals, Scotland's not getting a point.
I agree with that.
Yeah, Scotland's getting a point because they score a quick smash and grab and then bunker down, and Germany can't break them down.
Let's go to Group B.
Let's do it.
Group B is without a doubt. I mean, this group is very, very difficult. The poor Albanians making their first trip to a Euro championship. I actually was looking for an opportunity to say, all right, you know what? Maybe take a shot on Albania, but not in this group.
No. With
these collection of teams where Spain is a minus 120 favorite to get out of the group. The defending champions, Italy, sitting at 2-1. This is at Superbook. They're a lot shorter than that in a lot of other books. The Croatians, we know, always find a way to go around longer than they probably should. Luka Modric somehow still hanging around. 5-1 right now. It's pretty amazing that Modric is still playing in what will likely be his final international tournament at the age of 38. Tom, I'll just say this. Looking at this group, I think you have to consider, even though this is a weirder group for the Italians than usual, this is a bet that probably needs to be made at 2-1. to win this group if you're getting that type of money just based off the talent. Now, we know Spain always loaded. They're very consistent about getting out of the group, except for, of course, that disaster the year after they won the World Cup, after they won, when they just got annihilated in their group by Chile and the Netherlands in that specific World Cup back, again, a decade ago. But this feels like to me where you want to take a shot on a plus money second favorite. I think the Italians are the shot to do it, but there are concerns with the squad that they put together here.
There's a lot of concerns with Italy. I love to back the Italians, and I'm so scared of Spain because they have the same problem. I think that we were questioning going into the last World Cup, and that is who is scoring goals up top. Morata's not really the guy that you want to be relying on, where you can say, "Oh yeah, he's going to go out and get 5 goals in this tournament." I'm scared of what Spain is going to be able to do because they're able to tiki-taka their way around. They're going to be able to pass the ball really well. They're going to be able to retain possession, but they can't get the ball into the final third, and they can't convert those chances. That worries me greatly for this team, and I do think that Italy does have a shot to top this group and surprise people, but I don't really love Italy to go too much further into the knockout stage. But I do have them winning this group at 2-1.
I will tell you, with the way that, again, it all depends on the third-place matchups, but Italy could have to play the Netherlands in the round of 16, potentially, which would be a really difficult draw. Germany quickly after that. Again, I agree with it. Longevity in this tournament I don't think is great for the Italians, but a 2-1 price would be a way that I would look to play this. Croatia, I expect to get out of the group, but again, when you're playing your first match is against Spain.
Yeah.
You're laying a price with Spain against a team that always does better than expected in international play in this Croatian team. Croatia loses match 1. You got to beat Albania. If Albania gets any points in this group, it is going to be very hard for whoever loses points, more likely than not, against Albania to get through.
Yeah.
Just because of the nature of the other teams in this group. I would assume that Croatia would be the most likely one to lose points to Albania, but in the end, I think Italy tops the group. Spain finished the second. I still have Croatia going through. I think they'll beat Albania. I think they'll get a point off of either Italy or Spain, and 4 is more than enough to get you through in this scenario. You get 4, you're good.
Yeah.
As a third-place team. Realistically speaking, 3 probably will be enough to get you through as a third-place team as well.
I just think it's also possible. I mean, yes, you got Luka Modric, but this is an old Croatian team. This team wasn't in their prime when they made the World Cup final. Like, it's very tough to really back them to go too far. Like, yes, you do have the opportunity to get out as a third team, but I think the other reality is if you lose both to Italy and Spain, it doesn't matter how badly you beat Albania, who by the way, are not actually that bad.
No, I know.
They're a good team.
Yeah, they're a reasonable team.
And they're going to have home field advantage. Like, throughout this entire tournament, they're going to, like, that's just them and another team that we'll talk about later on are going to have massive support in this tournament. And like Albania is going to be a tougher out than you normally see. And I think that could present a problem for Croatia if Spain and Italy are going to be, if Spain and Italy both beat Croatia, you're just not going to be able to get enough points.
First appearance in a Euro for Albania as well. Again, just wrong group.
Yeah.
Seriously, if they were in a different group, like we'll get to Group C in a second.
Yeah.
If they were there as that 4th slotted team instead of Slovenia,
yeah,
I would probably say, all right, you know what? They could give Denmark a real game. England will beat them, but it would be a fun one. It would probably be a high-scoring game, but I'd like them to get through. It's just the wrong group at the wrong time for the Albanians.
Yeah.
And look, who knows? Again, we'll find out quickly if the Albanians draw or somehow upset the Italians in the first game.
Which is very possible.
I don't think it's impossible for a 0-0 draw.
Yeah.
I really don't. And they're just knowing how the Italians play. So we'll see how it all plays out. By the way, that one in Dortmund on Saturday for Italy and Albania. This group gets going on Saturday as well. To Sunday, Group C. Tom, if England does not win this group, something went horribly wrong.
Yeah.
Here, where
England does have a habit of falling flat on their face in international tournaments.
Well, they are. They you know what? They've been good. They've been good in recent years of getting out of the group and winning groups. They've been good with that.
Yes.
The only one in a major tournament they haven't won was when they made the World Cup semis. They just happened to be in the same group as Belgium, who were at that point, to me, the second best team in the world.
Yeah.
Of course, losing to, at the time, the best team in the world, France, who ended up going on and winning that World Cup, of course.
That was a great World Cup.
Yes, it was 2018 for that one, even though the Americans were not there. So England is a minus 275 favorite to win this group, which is actually surprising that they're a shorter favorite than Germany is to win Group A. I'm a little bit surprised on that. I would have expected England to be the second largest favorite to win a group.
I think it just comes down to the fact that Denmark and Serbia are decent teams.
So here's what I'll ask you with Denmark, because Denmark was the team in the last World Cup, and they just flamed out.
Yeah.
So how do we look at this Danish team that in international competition, look, they've been a disappointment the last few go-arounds when we looked at this team and being like, hey, I thought they were a potential quarterfinalist in the last World Cup, a potential a team that more than enough talent to get there, and they were not good in that last World Cup 2 years ago.
Yeah, I mean that's how you really have to look at them at this point. You have to take it at face value. They've struggled in multiple tournaments now, and again, you're getting to the point where some of their main guys are getting a lot older. We're at a very big changing of the guard point for a lot of teams that are coming in, and whoever's going to be able to flip that switch and change that guard first. And by the way, one of the teams that has been doing just that is England. You're going to be stuck with a Denmark team that, quite frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if Serbia manages to sneak out of the group.
So the Serbian team, again, we've not seen a ton of international spotlight for them over the last few years, but they're in the past, Tom, and we've seen them be in major competition. They're grinders for the most part. Just looking at this group, I'm a little surprised Slovenia even made this tournament, in all honesty. I expect Slovenia to finish fourth. Just really a matter of, like you said, who finishes second here, and then the opportunity to possibly get out of a group as a third-place team, I think, presents itself in this group because of the weakness of the Slovenians.
And the other thing that you have to really think about here is it's a top-heavy tournament. So a lot of these second-place teams, a lot of these third-place teams, they're going to make it out, and then they're just going to get knocked out in the first elimination round.
Let's go to Group D. The best team in this tournament and the betting favorites, the runners-up in the World Cup 2 years ago and dang near won the thing for the second consecutive World Cup. That's Les Bleus. That's the French, who are loaded yet again, Tom, and they are the correct favorites in this tournament.
Actually, England has leapfrogged them.
That's silly.
Oh, yes.
That's silly. Plus 350 is still a pretty good price, I would say, on France. Yes, I know there's some drama. There's always going to be some drama there with Les Bleus. There's some 4-1 out there as well. They should be the favorites. They're the team that I look at as the favorite in this tournament. Now, their group is more difficult than England, where the Dutch are a legitimate threat in this tournament. They are the clear second team in this tournament. The third team and the fourth team, Poland and Austria, I don't know what to look at. I don't know what to look at with these two teams. I feel like one of them will have a real shot to get out of the group, but I'm not entirely certain here, Tom.
I think that the Netherlands are really a team that you have to watch out for, and I don't mean that in the watch out and bet on them. I mean fade the Dutch.
Oh, really?
They're not going far in this tournament.
Okay.
I don't think it's unreasonable to think that they could not finish second in the group. I don't think that's going to happen necessarily, but you don't have Frankie de Jong.
Yep, big injury out.
Koeman is not the best manager, and he has not done that well with the talent that the Dutch have had. This is not the best Dutch team, and I don't think that they're going to be going that far. And I think that losing Frankie de Jong, you're going into the tournament without your best player, and it's a last-minute loss. That doesn't bode well for your team.
So I'll ask you this, because there's books that have stage of elimination bets out there. The Dutch right now, to get eliminated in a round of 16, are 2-1. To get eliminated in the group stage is plus 320. So based off what you're saying, that probably, just based off the nature of the group, it is kind of hard to imagine that they wouldn't at least get out of the group here with the group that they drew.
And the fact that you've got a third place,
place team's going. You have a third place,
they're making it out of the group,
right? They're going to. I would imagine they're going to, at worst, get 4 points out of Poland and Austria.
Yeah.
That round of 16, 2-1 seems pretty juicy based off what you're saying, right? I know you got to hope that the matchup is right because it's not an exact science because there could be things that you don't expect that change the possible matchups in that round of 16. But 2-1 on a round of 16 elimination seems pretty good if you're saying what you're saying here, Tom, on that.
I think that the thing that is really going to prevent you from taking that is going to be the fact that they're in Group D.
Yes.
And if you finish second in Group D, the way that your bracket plays out, you're playing
Group E's.
Yeah, you're playing Group E's second runner-up as well. That's a really favorable draw because Belgium is winning that group. Like skipping ahead a little bit here.
Yeah, please.
You're probably playing Ukraine. They could be. I'm fading the Dutch in the tournament, but they're still better than the bottom tier of teams. If you look at the odds to win the entire tournament, you've got your 4 clear favorites, and then there's a significant drop off to like your second tier of Italy and such, and then you've got everybody else. And the Netherlands are going to be better than the everybody else bracket, and they're actually going to greatly benefit from coming in second in the group, I think.
Going to Group E real quick, Tom. The Belgians, this is the team that I thought should have been the biggest favorite in their group, personally.
I am very surprised to see them at minus a 1 next to the number next to the minus sign here.
Yeah, there's some $2 evens out there. I'm a little. I thought that this could have been pushing $3 pretty easily, and I understand this. Again, they missed their golden generation opportunity, this Belgian team. We get that. I understand.
They're still there, though.
They're still there. They're just not as youthful as they were.
Yeah, really, Lukaku is an elder statesman.
Really, 2018, that was the moment. They needed to find a way to beat France in that semifinal. And what are you going to do? You ran into the French, who were entering their golden generation and clearly have taken advantage of it with nearly 2 World Cups in back-to-back. This group, I mean, Slovakia, Romania, the Ukraine, and the rest of the group. This is not a strong group. Mm-hmm. Where, we talk about the third place finishers on the surface. Tom, you'd say, all right, this group's not going to have a third place finisher, but I think all these other teams are capable of beating each other. Where Ukraine is capable of beating Slovakia, who's capable of beating Romania, who's capable of beating the Ukraine. So this could end up being one of those weird groups where Belgium runs the table and gets the 9 points, and then everyone else is tied at 3, where everyone just beat each other. Or we could just get a whole host of draws, and that's how you get your third place team missing, where you have a team that's lost to Belgium and then drew the other 2 falling out of the mix here.
I think that at the end of the day, this is going to be a chalky group here with Belgium and Ukraine going through.
You have Ukraine over Romania?
They're not in the same class. Ukraine is a little bit of a better team, and we've seen them in recent international competitions, even with everything going on. Ukraine is a pretty good squad here, and they're good enough to get a win over one of the other 2 and just kind of chill with 4 points.
It's just one of these groups. Again, of all the odds, I'm stunned Belgium is as short as they are. I just don't think there is a team in this group that can beat them. Now, I'm not saying Belgium's going to win the tournament. I don't like them long-term in this tournament. Probably win a round of 16. Group E winner would play a third place. Now, you could get some weirdness and maybe draw a third place that's better than a second place. But I like Belgium in this group. Again, if you can get a 1, if you can lay anything sub $2, I'm good with that on Belgium. I think that's a reasonable bet, just based off the lack of strength on this group. Last group up, Group F. Portugal, Cristiano Ronaldo is on the team. Remember the whole dispute in the World Cup? It's like, oh, that's going to be it. No, he's still here. Portugal is over a $2 favorite to win this group. I'm looking for reasons to fade Portugal, and I just can't find them with the grouping here, Tom. Just because looking at the odds, Portugal's minus 250, Turkey's plus 450, the Czechs are plus 650, and then Georgia, this is Eastern European Georgia, obviously, folks. Mm-hmm. First appearance in for the Georgians, they're 22-1 to win this group at the Westgate. This is a product of not being able to find a good alternative here, Tom. I just wish that it would probably look at the Czechs, even though they're the third favorites to win the group, but they just don't have enough here. Not a huge fan of this Turkey team, and Georgia's just not good enough to win a group here in this.
I mean, Georgia does have the SEC championships.
Yes, that is true.
But
pull back on those laurels. Yes,
Turkey is the team to watch in this group.
Okay.
If you're going to have a dark horse here, I really like this Turkish team. Like, I do actually think that they do have a lot of talent.
Okay.
And on top of that, again, home field advantage. Every single game that Turkey plays in this tournament is going to be a home game. Like, that's not only do they travel incredibly well, but the Turkish population, it's the same thing as if you have a Mexico game in LA. That's what you're dealing with in Germany with the Turks. They're going to fill that stadium. They're going to have a fantastic atmosphere for every game. Portugal has one of the easiest paths that I've ever seen. Like, to make the semis, to make the semis for Portugal is crazy without them even having to be particularly good. They don't need Ronaldo to score 20 goals to carry them in this tournament to still be fine.
More likely than not, and you mentioned it, a path to the semis, assuming they don't botch the group.
Which they should not.
Assuming they win the group, it'll be a third place team where the best possible third place team more likely than not would be Croatians, more likely than not. Unless if you get a weird one and Italy falls to third in Group B.
Could happen.
Not impossible, but unlikely. And then the runners-up in Group D and E, we just talked about how weak Group E is behind Belgium, and Group D, probably an injured Dutch team. So a real possibility that this is a pretty easy walk to a semifinal in Munich against either Germany or Italy or Spain, potentially. Now, it's a lot more difficult if they get to the semifinal, regardless of who it is.
They're not going further than the semis, in my opinion.
Well, if they play Germany, I'd give them a shot, even with Germany having the home soil advantage here.
I definitely give them a shot. I think that will be a really, really good game.
It would be an awesome match. Yeah. And Italy, I'd give them a shot as well. If they play Spain, then we get Spain into the final yet again.
Likely.
In that Iberian matchup, as we always like.
I still hate the fact that I don't know who is scoring goals for this Spanish team. They're probably still going to surprise me, and we're going to come out here, and Morata's going to get 5
Morata's going to win the Golden Boot.
Yeah, like that's probably what's going to happen here. But it's the same deal with Spain every single time. Is they're going to control possession, they're going to be able to pass really well, and they're going to break down in the final third.
So, Tom, just looking at some awards real quick, just Golden Boot. Mm-hmm. Shocking here that Mbappe is your favorite at plus 450, with Harry Kane just right behind him at plus 550. No, everyone else is 14-1 or longer.
Yeah.
So the thought for me, look, I think France is going to win this tournament, which obviously leads me to just going with the chalk here and Mbappe at plus 450. If there is an argument for anyone else to possibly win this Golden Boot, which is the most goals in the tournament, what will we even look at? Will we even look at a potential Olivier Giroud at a 20-1? Would we look at going down the board and taking someone you wouldn't necessarily think of? You think Portugal can go on a run? Maybe you look at a Diego Jota at 40-1. Maybe you look at that. It's very hard for me to go away from Mbappe here at the top and just going chalk if we're taking a Golden Boot selection here.
He is so good.
Yes,
he is so good. The thing is, you don't necessarily need to look for a guy on a team that's going to be. Granted, yes, you're probably
they're a high scoring team on top of being the best team in the tournament.
Yeah, it's so tough to go away from Mbappe, but there are also just a lot of good players on that French team that can score goals. And is he necessarily going to be taking every single penalty for them? I think that what you want to do is look at a team that's going to really rack them up in the group stage. Look at a team that's got necessarily one main guy and is going to have more of the easier group stage matchups here. And that's what you really want to start looking at. Like for Golden Boot versus Player of the Tournament, because I kind of like the guy that I'm looking at is Bukayo Saka.
Of England, right now 35-1, the Arsenal product.
His problem is definitely going to be the fact that you still have Harry Kane, you still have Jude Bellingham. There's a lot that can go wrong here.
Phil Foden's even shorter than him, which I don't agree with.
Yeah, but I think Saka, this could be his coming out party where it's, hey, this kid's becoming one of the best players in the world right now. And I don't necessarily lean to him for Golden Boot, but I like him for Player of the Tournament.
By the way, the short is Belgian, because if you're going off of that theory of, hey, team that could rack them up in the group stage.
Oh, look at Lukaku.
where is Lukaku on this list? I don't even see him. Lukaku, I still can't get them missing the World Cup out of my head on Lukaku. Shortest Belgian is Openda, by the way, right now at 40-1. Trossard at 50, De Bruyne at 50. My list doesn't even have Lukaku on here, which is interesting because he should be on here.
You should probably scroll up because he's probably close to the top. Like he's favored to be their lead. He's favored to be the lead goal scorer on Belgium.
I'll show you what I'm looking at here. I don't see Lukaku on here for Golden Boot, which means we might be making a call to get him on the board at a bigger number that we should be getting. I'll show you this afterward. I'm not listening. Hey, you want Shaqiri at 200-1? You want Shaqiri at 200-1?
I'll tell you
who always manages to have one gigantic goal in Switzerland's run in an international tournament.
I'll tell you what I am curious about because Cristiano Ronaldo is just at the top of the board for this Portugal team to be the top goal scorer. Bruno Fernandes is the penalty merchant. That's something to really watch out for in these tournaments and things like that. At 5-1, Bruno Fernandes is on a team here that doesn't have the world's greatest scoring power here, although they do have some good offense. I love Rafael, but Bruno Fernandes might be worth a shot to lead Portugal in scoring.
By the way, 14-1 on Lukaku at FanDuel is the number I'm seeing on him. I just think this is an accidental omission on the one I'm looking at right now.
Yeah.
Which would imagine if he gets put on there, probably be about 18-1 would be my guess.
Yeah.
It is interesting. Morata can be had at 30-1. I know you said Spain could be struggling to score goals. He's clearly their best goal scorer. Yeah. So that is something to look at if you like Spain to go far in the tournament. Bruno Fernandes, by the way, 41-1 right now is the best number I see.
Oh, I'm not talking about him to be the best. No, I'm talking about him to. I'm looking at specifically team top goal scorers.
Oh, okay.
Here. Yeah.
Okay.
Like seeing Fernandes at 5-1 to lead Portugal.
That's the better bet.
That's a way better bet. Wow. And that's one where you could start looking at it like, hey, what about a team that's maybe not going to go far? Because then you don't have to worry about more games racking up, and you could just be picking out a guy who maybe he has one game where they score a couple goals.
I mean, you want to take a shot on John McGinn to be the top scorer for Scotland at 6-1? Yeah. I mean, there are worse bets to be made than that.
So with Scotland, I think that they could surprise people. I think it's also very possible that they don't get a single point in this entire tournament and go home early, but they're still going to have to score a goal somewhere, and it doesn't necessarily mean that it's coming from a striker.
No, that's what I'm saying. I mean, you could take some. I wish they would have. Hey, give me field on these bets, or at least for some. Because right now I see FanDuel has Scotland and Georgia up there. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce these Georgian names because I'll just sound ridiculous. Yeah. But all sorts of markets available across the country if you want to bet this. All right, before we go, Tom, pre-tournament prediction. I have France. I know Chalky, second favorite, team that I think should be the favorite. I have France winning here. Again, this group is remember, this has been World Cup dominance. Euros, obviously 2020, they went out early against Switzerland. So
they were also coming off a World Cup win.
Oh, I know. But remember, they did have an extra year with that. But regardless, I still think the French find a way to get this thing done and hoist the trophy here in the month of July there in Germany.
I have France as my winner too, which sucks because it's not good content. I'll give you a better bet. England to be eliminated in the semifinals. I can find it at plus 380. They might be able to find a better price out there.
So not even in the final.
Yeah.
England.
No. England specifically.
No, I know that's what I'm saying. That England loses in the semis.
Yes, because the problem for England is going to be the fact that 9 times out of 10, this is shaking out, you're playing France in the semis. So rather than taking France to win the whole thing, although granted you could do that, look at England to be eliminated in the semis is a nice little position too.
No, that's not a bad position because also then you have some outs if France flames out and then you just need England to choke.
Exactly.
Which is not a bad.
And if France flames out, there's still a good chance that they end up playing somebody else that's good.
Well, France is what? France is Group D. If somehow the Dutch, even without de Jong, go through, win the group, well, then that run for Portugal gets a little harder.
Yeah.
Probably a quarterfinal elimination at that point for for Portugal if they have to play France in that in the quarters as opposed to
that would be
a
rough.
potential final. It is, again, a lot of this is going to come down to how the Group B plays out. That's really going to be the key to the whole tournament for me, because I think if Germany can find a way to play Italy in the quarters, which is the way that I think it is, I think that's a better draw for Germany than Spain.
For sure.
You also look at it, the Group B's runner-up would then play Group C in the quarters. That's not an easy matchup for England if they have to play Italy or Spain and then have to flip around and play France right away after that. I like your semifinal angle, actually. I think that's a pretty good angle to take.
I think it's also just the fact that, like, you look at their groups, you look at the way the bracket is expected to line up, it's much less likely there's a surprise that messes that side of it up.
I agree with that.
Like most of the surprises would mess up the other side of the bracket more. And I think that that's a big thing that makes me lean towards saying, hey, we're probably getting France versus England in the semi, and I like France to win that game.
I think we're in agreement on that. Tom Viola, of course, you find him over at Unabated. As always, Tom, it's a pleasure, man. We'll once we get to the knockout stage, we'll do something similar to this to get you ready for the knockout stage.
That sounds great. And hey, we have the Copa America to talk about.
We sure do. Both CONCACAF and CONMEBOL all together again.
As it should be. They should always play this tournament this way.
Well, you know what? What it probably means is we'll get an Argentina-Brazil final. That's probably what it means more so than anything. But we'll be on the lookout. That's in July, so we'll as soon as Euro ends, that gets going. I love how also we're just playing it when it's the most humid possible weather in the Western Hemisphere as well.
Yeah, of course.
Naturally, just do it that way. Of course, this has been a Sports by the Book Euro 2024 special. Of course, be on the lookout here on this channel for all of our Sports by the Book episodes. Myself and Alex White get you ready for today in sports betting from 9 to 10. Tuesday through Saturday. So be on the lookout for that. And of course, all of our other shows at the South Point Studio. Check out South Point Studio on YouTube. And also make sure you subscribe to this channel right here, wherever you're getting your podcast today. We'll see you again next time. Sports by the Book.